In 2021, Buster Posey played his final season in Major League Baseball. At 34 years old, he hit 18 home runs, drove in 56. His .889 OPS was the second highest of his career, and he hit .304 to become one of only 6 players to hit over 300 in their final season. Even with the 3.5 WAR, Buster doesn't even come close to making this list. I'm Jeff from the Two Strike Noise podcast, and this is the top 10 best final seasons in baseball history. Most people hate their jobs.
I don't like my job, and I don't think I'm going to go anymore.
Baseball's no different. I mean, just ask Anthony Rendon.
Is it still a top priority for you, though?
That's never been a top priority for me. This is a job.
But for those players who actually like playing baseball, retirement isn't always something they get a say in. Some players get to do it on their own terms, walking away, leaving money and productive years on the table. Most end up, though, being told they're just not good enough to make a team anymore. Some are officially banned from the game for life. Others were unofficially blackballed because of something they did either on or off the field. Some suffer a career-ending injury, and then there's the ultimate career-ending injury, death. Before we get into who is on this list, let me make clear I'm going to be using WAR a lot, so I know the mere mention of this will send some into a George Brett level frenzy. Unfortunately, WAR is really kind of the best we've got to take a player season and boil it all down to a single number. I don't love it, but for the sake of making this list, we're going to lean pretty heavily on it. If you have a better stat to use to compare players against different eras, please let me know down in the comments. Or if you just want to tell me how much WAR sucks, have at it. There are also some people I'm choosing not to include on this list because of the reason that their final season was, well, their final season. So you're not going to see guys like Wander Franco or Trevor Bauer. It's my video and I don't want to talk about them. But before we get to number 10, let's get some players out of the way right now. Kind of a dishonorable mention. The 1919 White Sox, or as they are more often referred to as the Black Sox. I'm not going to be including Shoeless Joe Jackson here because I think he may have known about the fix, but I don't believe he participated in it. But there were 7 other players from that team that got the banhammer from Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis. Strangely enough, though, the season following the 1919 World Series between the Sox and Reds, while lawyers were arguing in court about what exactly happened and who was involved, all players alleged to be involved in the fix played during the 1920 season, except for ringleader Chick Gandil. The 1920 version of the White Sox was still a good team, and many of the players who would soon be banned had really good seasons. Look at these 1920 WAR totals. Shortstop Swede Risberg, 1.5. Third baseman Buck Weaver, 3.5. Center fielder Happy Felsch, 5.6. That includes 115 RBI. Pitchers Eddie Seacott and Lefty Williams posted a 5.1 and a 3.5 respectively, and accounted for 43 of the team's 96 wins. Utility infielder Fred McMullen posted the only negative total at a minus 0.4. Collectively, minus Shoeless Joe, the banned players put up an 18.8 wins against replacement during what would be their final seasons. The White Sox in 2024, by the way, only had 8 players total with a positive WAR at all, and that only totaled 2.7. With that out of the way again, except for Joe Jackson, let's get started. Number 10, Jackie Robinson. Is any baseball list complete without Jackie Robinson on it? No. The answer is no, so we start with one of the most important players to ever put on a baseball uniform. Jackie was a pioneer in many ways, but also one of the greatest players to ever cross the foul line and take his position in the field. Capping off an outstanding career which included a Rookie of the Year, an MVP, and a batting title, Robinson was inducted into the Hall of Fame on his first year of eligibility in 1962, breaking baseball's color barrier one more time and was then honored by Major League Baseball by having his number retired throughout all levels of the game in 1997, amongst a literal laundry list of other honors that have taken his name. Robinson endured much more than just game-related stress through his 11-year career, and by the time the 1956 season rolled around, the 37-year-old was no longer the MVP caliber player he once had been. His 1955 season was the worst of his career, as he tangled with manager Walter Alston and owner Walter O'Malley. His health was an ongoing issue throughout his career. The effects of what would later be diagnosed as diabetes continued to worsen. Even with these issues, Jackie helped lead the Dodgers to the 6th World Series of his career in that final 1956 season. Though his numbers weren't as gaudy as previous seasons, he still managed a 4.5 WAR in just 117 games during his final season, walking twice as much as he struck out and swiping 12 bases. I think there's no better way to start this list than with Jackie Robinson. Number 9, Roberto Clemente. I think it's appropriate to list Roberto Clemente right after Jackie Robinson. Rightfully revered by Latin American players to this day, Roberto was the definition of a Hall of Famer. Though he was 37 years old and had played in the big leagues for 18 seasons, the Pirates right fielder was still one of the best players in the league in what would turn out to be his final season of 1972. In 101 games, he drove in 60 while slashing .312, .356, .479, and equaling a 4.8 WAR. He was also named an All-Star for the 5th time in his career, won his 12th Gold Glove, and collected his 3,000th career hit. Clemente had chartered a plane on New Year's Eve 1972 to take humanitarian aid to Managua, Nicaragua, after it had been struck by a massive earthquake. Previous aid he had arranged for had been diverted by corrupt government officials, and Roberto wanted to make sure that this round got through to its intended destination. The plane, however, was old and had a history of mechanical issues. It also didn't have a full flight crew and was overladen by 4,200 pounds. It crashed into the Atlantic Ocean shortly after taking off. Clemente's body was never recovered. The waiting period to be inducted into the Hall of Fame was waived, and he was inducted the next season. MLB has since renamed the Commissioner's Award to the Roberto Clemente Award, which is given to the player with outstanding baseball skill and is personally active in the community. It is considered to be one of Major League Baseball's highest honors. Number 8, Mike Mussina. In his final season at age 39, Mike Mussina led the league in games started with 34, a testament to his durability. Though he no longer possessed the velocity he once had, Moose pitched over 200 innings in 2008, walking only 31 batters and earning his 7th Gold Glove. His 5.1 WAR for the year was his 6th highest of his 18-year career, and most impressively, he won 20 games for the first time in his career, becoming the oldest first-time 20-game winner in Major League Baseball history, and one of only 3 pitchers to retire after a 20-win season, the first since Sandy Koufax in 1966. Though undoubtedly he would have been offered a contract by somebody for the next season, Mussina decided to call it a career. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2019 and is our first pitcher to appear on the list who is not a member of the 1919 White Sox. Number 7, David Ortiz. Unlike a lot of players on this list, David Ortiz went out 100% on his own terms. He announced on his 40th birthday that the next season would be his last. A popular player not just in Boston where he played most of his career, Big Papi was adored all around the league by fans and players alike and received a send-off at each stadium he played for at the final time. This includes Camden Yard in Baltimore, where the Orioles presented him with what was left of the bullpen phone from the visitors' dugout from that one time where I think he just kept getting calls about his car's extended warranty during a game. In that final season, he went on to lead the league in doubles, RBI, slugging, and OPS, while finishing 6th in American League MVP voting and totaling a 5.2 WAR, tied for the 3rd highest of his 20-year career. His 38 home runs that season are the most ever for a player in their final year. He has since gone on to survive an assassination attempt, become a popular national baseball analyst on TV, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility in 2022. Number 6. Chino Smith. Chino Smith was one of the young stars of the Eastern Colored League, slashing .378, .449, .555 in his first 3 seasons for the Brooklyn Royal Giants. In 1929, now with the New York Lincoln Giants, he finished leading the league in almost every offensive category, including a 5.9 WAR, and was often spoken in the same breath as Josh Gibson and Oscar Charleston. Chino headed south to play winter ball in Cuba. There, he fell ill in what some thought was a case of yellow fever virus. Today, we know he actually suffered from an aggressive form of stomach cancer. He tried to play but could only do so sparingly for non-major league level clubs. He succumbed to cancer in early 1932 at age 30. Number 5. Ed Delahanty. The tale of Ed Delahanty is a mystery that still goes unsolved to this day. Ed was one of 6 brothers who played in professional baseball and was a certified superstar. He played before there were All-Star games or MVP awards, but if there had been, he would have collected them easily every season. Ed's lifetime batting average of .346 includes several seasons where he hit over .400 and 2 batting titles during his 16-season career. Delahanty was a big drinker, and following some personal issues as well as contractual ones, Ed boarded a train to New York City, having abandoned his floundering Washington Senators with the intent of getting out of his contract so he could play for more money with the New York Giants. Ed drank heavily during the train ride, causing problems until he passed out. Upon waking up later that night, he stumbled into an occupied cabin and fought with the 3 men in it. The train captain kicked Ed off the train before it crossed a bridge over the Niagara River near Buffalo. In the dark, a still drunk Ed stumbled onto the bridge where a night watchman encountered him. Various stories tell of what might have happened next, but Ed's body was found a week later, 20 miles downstream at the base of the Niagara Falls. Whether Ed had fallen, was pushed, or jumped is still unknown. Though Ed only played 42 games his final year in 1903, he still totaled a 1.3 WAR and an 824 OPS. But in his penultimate season, Ed finished with a 6.8 WAR, 43 doubles, and a .376, .453, .590 slash line, leading the league in each category. Number 4. Shoeless Joe Jackson. And finally, here he is, Shoeless Joe Jackson as promised. As I stated before, I don't think he participated in the 1919 Black Sox scandal, but I do believe he shoulders guilt for knowing about it and not saying anything. We're going to assume, like usual, that I'm right and he's innocent. Jackson was an elite player who in his first full season hit .408, only to lose out on the batting title to Ty Cobb's .419. He never hit under 300 the final 11 years of his 13-year career. Whether it was by hitting or walking, Jackson got on base. He ended with 519 walks to only 233 strikeouts and swiped 202 career stolen bases. Like the others who were banned by Kennesaw Mountain Landis, Joe played the entire season of 1920, leading the league in triples for a 3rd time, hitting .382 and totaling a 1.033 OPS. His 7.5 WAR for the season was the 3rd highest of his career and good enough to land him at the number 4 spot for the greatest last season. Number 3. Bill Sweeney. Bill Sweeney only pitched for 2 seasons in Major League Baseball, but one of them was a doozy. In 1884, for the Baltimore Monumentals of the Union Association, Sweeney accumulated a record of 40-21 for a team that only won 58 games. He was the only pitcher other than John Ryan to finish with a record above 500, Ryan finishing with a 3-2 mark in just 6 games. In the 60 games Sweeney started that season, he finished 58 with a 2.59 ERA, leading the league in innings pitched with 538 and a WAR of 7.5. No other player in the Union Association even reached 30 wins that year. Elsewhere in Major League Baseball that season, 7 other pitchers won 40 or more, including old Hoss Radburn's unbreakable mark of 60. Following that season, he played sparingly in the Western and International Leagues. Very sparingly, like only 10 games over those 2 seasons. His lack of playing time due to, quote, frequent hemorrhages, end quote, as the Sunday Leader from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania put it. The article also mentioned that Bill hangs on to life and is still capable of good work. Aren't we all, Bill? Aren't we all? Sweeney didn't play again after 1886 and passed away due to tuberculosis in 1903. Number 2, Charlie Ferguson. With a similarly short career, Charlie Ferguson shone on both the mound and at the plate. In just 4 seasons, Charlie racked up 99 wins and sports a lifetime ERA of 2.67, while also finishing with a .288 career batting average, which includes 2 seasons hitting over 300. His final season of 1887, on the mound he went 22-10 with a 3.0 ERA and led the league in saves with 1, and completed 31 of the 33 games he started. With the bat, he hit a career-high .337 with a .417 on-base percentage. On the mound, he accumulated a 7.7 WAR and a 2.3 WAR at the plate. But sometime during spring training of the 1880 season, Charlie contracted typhoid fever. He passed just 2 months later at the age of 25. Charlie might be that mythical Shohei Ohtani comp. Charlie Ferguson may indeed be a real-life tungsten arm O'Doyle. Number 1, Sandy Koufax. Finally, the greatest last season for a player in Major League Baseball is Sandy Koufax. He played for only 12 seasons, but those last 5 seasons could very well be some of the best 5 seasons in the history of baseball. In that time, he went 111-32 with a 1.15 ERA, while striking out 1,444 batters in only 1,377 innings. That's a whip of .926 for a starter. During that span, he also won 3 Cy Young Awards, a league MVP, and 2 of his 4 World Series titles. The left arm of God, though, had an Achilles heel. His elbow, which I don't know, you could make the case, I guess, that the elbow is the Achilles heel of the arm. Whatever the case, Sandy feared that all the procedures needed to just allow him to pitch with his bad elbow introduced the possibility that he could eventually lose the use of his left arm. So he retired at age 30 and was inducted into the Hall of Fame on his first year of eligibility in 1972. He totaled a 10.3 WAR his final season, not even his career best, and he led the league in almost every category, including his 3rd of 3 pitching Triple Crowns. And in my estimation, the best final season of anybody to ever play Major League Baseball. Do you think I missed anybody? Who was the best last season for your favorite team? Let me know below in the comments after you make sure to like and subscribe.